Good evening, everybody. I'm going to start by expressing my thanks to Shlomo, who asked me to speak in memory of my father, whose Yahrtzeit begins tonight and is tomorrow. It's 4 years. Time travels very fast. My dad was born Abba Varshavshik in Kutno in 1918. He lived in the outskirts of town, where my grandfather, among other things, had a neighborhood minyan in his house. Growing up, I heard about the Sefer Torah and some of the types who lived on the outskirts of town over there. Dad was active in the Beitar youth movement. He was sent on a youth mission that went out to Azerbaijan. He was turned back by the Soviets, something he said was very good luck for him, because who knows, he might have been stuck there. And as part of Beitar, he met Menachem Begin once or twice, who encouraged him to do whatever was necessary to get to Palestine. He encountered anti-Semitism in Warsaw, which he had not really encountered in Kutno. In Kutno, he went to the gymnasium with the Polish neighbors. He spoke Polish in the city and had Polish friends. But in Warsaw, Jews were getting beaten up, and he convinced his family to allow him to go to Pisa, to Italy, to continue his studies. He never got to dental school there. Instead, he started getting Jews on boats in the Adriatic Sea to go on illegal immigration to Palestine. Eventually, he also made his way to Tel Aviv. He was not able to convince anybody in his immediate or even close family to go to Palestine with him. And so of all of his siblings and cousins, only he, an uncle who had already gone to America, and two cousins who had already moved to Israel, survived. He was active in the Irgun, in the Etzel, in Israel. During the war, during the Second World War, he followed the recommendation to fight against the Nazis if there were no British, and to fight against the British if there were no Nazis, and joined the Palestine Army. He had Palestine on his army uniform. He saw action escorting Haile Selassie. He saw action in Greece, spent a lot of the war in a prisoner of war camp. He returned to Palestine, was active in the Irgun. My brother and I think it's significant that he never really denied being around the King David Hotel when it was bombed, but he never owned up to it either. Certainly he was thrown into prison, and a British soldier had Rachmanis on him, had mercy on him, because he was also in the British. He'd also been in the British Army. He made his way to the United States in 1947 after he escaped from prison. My mother told me after he died that he had not really spoken to her about his family until his Kaddishal was born, until I was born. It seems to me that this was very much like my father, who always wanted to build things up going forward, and only after things were going ahead was he able to think and articulate about the past. But he was able to think about the past. Growing up, we learned Hebrew. My dad spoke to me at least occasionally in Hebrew and insisted I do well in my studies. He made sure all of his kids went to Israel. My first trip was in 1966. He was active in the Zionist Organization of America, especially after he retired. He worked hard to organize and to get people to attend and support events and fundraisers. Seeing that we're going to have a fundraiser in a week, I will share with you his favorite fundraiser. This was one in which all the participants for their annual donation received a tea bag, and instructions which said, at such and such a time, sit in your favorite chair at home, drink tea, and be happy that you're not listening to boring speeches. Dad was always able to bring people to work along with him. This was very useful in the ZOA, where he was famous for getting cooperative ventures to fill events and fundraisers. But he also got it when he was building things, whether it was a set for the shul musical or a float for the Salute to Israel parade, or a deluxe grogger for the large synagogue reading of the Megillah so people would know when to stop doing the groggering, or an outdoor menorah for the synagogue at a period of time when Chabad had not yet begun to do that type of stuff. One day, the synagogue rabbi saw that he was successful in getting people who came to help to actually wield a hammer, and asked him whether he could use the same skill with building a sukkah. Starting in the 1970s and going into sometime around 2005 or 6, Dad helped hundreds of people build sukkahs in Westchester, Long Island, Connecticut. And because the plans were sent to the Rabbinic Assembly, to the United Synagogue, and sent to many other synagogues, probably thousands of thousands of individuals built sukkahs. Back in the 1970s, I don't think there were many synagogue communities in which many individuals had sukkahs, at least not where we were living in suburbia. And there were no kits. You had to go around to lumber yards to create a kit. So people would say you wanted 4 modular panels as opposed to 20 boards and whatever number of stuff. I'm personally grateful that my father came with me when I was invited to give a talk in Warsaw and showed me his town as well as the city and many other places. At home, our Shabbat evening dinner ritual included a portion of the prayer for the State of Israel and the defenders of the Holy Land, as well as the regular Kiddush and Motzi. He was proud of providing for his wife and his family, for the community, for the youth, for Jewish continuity. Very pleased with the fact that he got to know rabbis around the entire metropolitan area and, in fact, the entire country through his work with the ZOA and especially with the Sukkah project. I suspect, looking at this parasha, he would say that the Arami Oved Avi tells something of his story. For the first 3 decades, he was wandering. People sought to kill him. He survived only by luck. And after that, of course, Samachti b'chol hatov asher natan li Hashem. I'm happy with all the good things which God gave to me. May his memory be blessed, and thank you for the opportunity of speaking about him. Rabbi Hananya ben Akashya Amar, Ratzah Kadosh Baruch Hu lizakot et Yisrael lefichach yirba lehem Torah mitzvot shene'emar. Adonai chafetz leman tzidko yagdil Torah b'yadir.